So today also we'll create a VPC, okay, in this subnet range. Then we'll create a private and public subnet. Okay, we'll create an internet gateway, attach it to VPC. Okay, so NAT gateway is optional, but we'll see that in later. Okay, we'll create a private and public route table. Okay, then in this exercise, we'll create two security groups, one for private subnet and other for public subnet. Telnet, whenever we used to create EC2 instance, we were um, using we are creating on the fly a new security group, but this time we'll create a public and private both security groups, and after that we'll have one more layer of security. Okay, so this security group is at the instance level or EC2 instance level, and this NACL, or also called as network access control list, this will be at the subnet level. Okay, so how it works, we'll see that. At least we'll try to do this till the here, and after that we will enable one by one the NACL rule. Okay, so let's create the VPC with this range and the name as my VPC. Search for VPC. The range is 10.0.0/16, and just click on create VPC. On the same page, we'll see the subnets. Okay, so these are the default subnets. Okay, we'll create our own subnet, that is we'll select our my VPC and my public subnet. Availability zone US East 1A. Okay, and 10.0.1.0/24. Click on add new subnet. We'll create one more subnet, that is my private subnet, and it will have the range 10.0.2.0/24, and click on create subnet. So make sure both are part of my VPC, private and public subnet. Okay, so we need to create this one in US East 1B. Okay, so I'll have to delete and create it again. Let's see if I can edit it. But as far as I remember, it was. Let's check. So it's not allowing me. Okay, so I'll have to do it again. I want this one in US East 1B. So I'll just delete it and create it again. US East 1B and 10.0.2.0/24. So we have my VPC in 10.0./16 range. Okay, and we have two subnets, public and private. Both are in my VPC 1.0 and 2.0. We'll next create an internet gateway. With this need for internet connection, so my internet gateway IGW, just click on create. Internet gateway is created, just select it. Okay, after selecting, click on action and attach to VPC. Okay, and select the VPC, my VPC, and click on attach internet gateway. Now we'll create route tables. Two route tables are required. First one will be the public, my public route table. Select the VPC. Okay, in that we will have to do the subnet association. Okay, edit, and it was public, so add the public. So we have done the subnet association here. Yeah, without that the routes will not work properly. And we also need to add a route. Okay, it's for public subnet. We'll add it as local. This is the default one. Add from everywhere to the internet gateway. Okay, so select the internet gateway, my internet gateway, and click on save. Okay, so we did the subnet association for public route table, and we also allowed the route to internet gateway. So also create a route table for private subnet, my private route table. Select the VPC, create route table. So we'll attach NAT gateway to it. Okay, means a rule for NAT gateway, but later on let's only do the subnet association now. Private subnet. So both the route tables are also created, public and private route table. Subnet association is done in both. In public subnet, we have added a rule to allow internet gateway. And for my private route table, we just did the subnet association. Okay, we'll later on add the NAT gateway and allow the rule for NAT gateway as well. Okay, so the VPC is created, subnet is created, route table is created, and even the internet gateway is created. Okay, now we'll create two security groups as well, one for private and other one for public. So let's go to, we'll create one more dashboard. We'll open one more dashboard for VPC. No, EC2. VPC we already have. So we are now on EC2 dashboard. Here just scroll down, go to network and security and click on security groups. So we already have two subnets, means two security groups. Default one is for 173 range and other one for 10 dot something, which we created now, and this one is the custom one more we have, but ignore it. We'll just create one more, and the rule will be public security group. Okay, here we'll allow SSH. Okay, will allow ping, SSH, and HTTP. Okay, select the VPC, my VPC. What will be the rules? We'll just add the inbound rules. The rule will be allow first ICMP, all IPv4 ICMP from everywhere. Then allow SSH from everywhere, and again allow HTTP from everywhere. Okay. And outbound traffic by default it is allowed. So all the outbound or outgoing traffic is by default allowed. Okay. We allowed port 22 ICMP and port 80, and click on create security group. Okay. Let's create one more security group for private subnet as well. Private security group. Here will allow ICMP and SSH. If any other rules are required, we'll add that later. And add the rule for ICMP from everywhere and SSH from everywhere. Okay, and outbound is also allowed. Just click on create security group. Private and public two security groups are created. And now we need to create the EC2 instances. Click on launch instance and the public server Ubuntu 22 will select. T2 micro. Okay, and we'll select my existing key pair, and in network setting click on edit. Okay, select our VPC, my VPC, and the public subnet is selected properly. Okay, we need a public IP for it, so just enable auto assign public IP. We'll select an existing security group which we created just now, that is public security group. Okay, and in advanced detail we can have any script. Let's check if anything is there. Okay, as of now nothing, so let's ignore it. We can add it later on as well, this any script here. After the installation just click on launch instance. Okay, so our first instance is created in the public subnet. Okay, USD is 1. Let's also create one more server in a private subnet. Private server Ubuntu 22. T2 micro key pair will be my existing one. In network settings go to my VPC. Okay, in subnet select private subnet USD1B. Okay, we don't need a public IP address to it because it is in a private subnet. We'll attach a security group to it, that is so I think the security group is not showing for private subnet, so let me check. Okay, let's go.
You didn't create.
Okay, I'll create one. So No, see here I created one, but I think I didn't attach it to the correct one or what.
See the region.
Yeah, maybe the region will, let's see that private subnet. Okay, let me delete and create it again, or I'll have to refresh the page maybe, but let's create it again because it's not region specific. Private security group, allow ICMP and SSH. Select my VPC role. First one will be for ICMP from everywhere. Add SSH from everywhere. As of now, that is sufficient. Just refresh it. So we have the private as well now, and just click on launch instance. So let's wait for some time to get it ready, the other one. Okay, so both are getting ready. Till then, let's try to access this one, 35.172. So I'll open my putty session. Okay, so it's allowing us the connection, logging as Ubuntu. And first we'll try to ping google.com. Okay, that means the internet is working fine. Okay, if we do sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get install apache 2, it will work properly. Okay, so till security group everything is working fine for us. Also try to connect the private server. Okay, so for that we'll need the key pair. Don't know which key pair it is. Okay, so again what I did is I should have created the PEM key because I need to create a login to the private one from this to this 10.0.186. So let's see what we can do. So just say yes. Now to connect to the private server, I also should have a private key. So next time onwards, we'll use the PEM key itself. Okay. So if I do SSH now, okay, it is asking me, but I do not have the key here. Okay. So what I'll do is there is one method to convert the PPK to PEM. Let's try to do that. Putty putty gen. So this tool is also installed when we install the putty gen. Let's go to key Now conversations import key. So where is my key? It is here in the class. Okay. Oh, I also have the PEM, but we imported with this one. So let's import it. Okay. And if you go to conversion, the same. First we imported it. Okay. And now export it as an open SSH key format. Okay. Or you can say force as well. So let's use the second option. Are you sure want to save this key file without a passphrase? Yes. Okay. So I don't know if I've done this earlier, but I'll just add it as one. Okay. So what we are doing, we are converting PPK to PEM because I need that for SSH. Now just close this tab, go here. So these steps are not, I think, given there in the notes. Okay. But if you see, we have this key, but I think it needs an RSA format, but let's check that. Now what I'll do is I'll just save it on my, I'm on my public server key.pem. Just save it and try to just change the permission of it. Chmod 700 400 key.pem. Just to SSH -i key.pem and enter. Okay, it worked. Okay, so what we have done, we converted the PPK to the PEM and we are now connected. So here the internet will not work. Okay, apt get update, just do sudo. Okay, it will not work. It is just 0% because the NAT gateway needs to be attached to it. Okay, but we'll do that later. Let's first we need to check what is NACL. Okay, network access control list. Okay, I'll just log out from here. Yeah, I've logged out. I'm on public server. It's working fine. It's connecting fine. Okay, I'll just log out. And what I'll do is I've logged out of everything. Now let's go to VPC dashboard. Okay, here we created the security group. Okay, so we created the public one. This is the security group, and what we have allowed here, ICMP port 22 and port 80. Okay, and outboard rule, everything is allowed by default. So this is attached to a public uh, server or EC2 instance, and we are able to connect to it. But whenever we create a VPC, okay, a default security group is also created. So we just go to security group and we'll have to go inside it, then only we'll come to know which one it is. So this is either one, this one. So which one is 10 dot? So it is attached to VPC actually. Okay. So this is 10 dot. This is the one which got created. That is this. This is the default security group which got created when we created the VPC. Okay. So now we created one more security group and we attached that to it. Okay. This is the public security group. Similarly, when we create a new VPC, okay, a NACL is also created, that is network access control list. This is the one. The earlier one is for the 172 range default VPC. Okay, this is the my VPC is custom VPC which we created, and by default, okay, for both the subnets, okay, it is allowing the traffic. If you see, there is a rule number 100 which says allow all the traffic. Okay, And outbound also, it says allow all the traffic. Now we need to play with that. Okay, so this is the default one. First what we will do is we'll play with default one, then we'll create our own NACL as well. So first what I'll do is I'll just click on this inbound rule. Okay, and I'll just remove it, but remember what you are removing: all traffic allow from 000. I'll just remove it. Okay, so now what is the rule here? The rule is deny. Okay, so first one was allow, now the rule is deny, so all traffic will be denied. Okay, go to the outbound rule here also. Okay, let's not make any changes here, keep it as it is. So inbound rule is deny all. So what I'll do is I'll just go here again, go to our instance, and write to SSH. Okay, it will not work. If you see, it's not working because of that NACL rule, deny. Okay, now just close it. It will not work. And what I'll do is I'll also remove the outbound rule. Outbound rule is also removed. Just change. So inbound and outbound both are not allowed. Now let's allow an inbound rule, that is add new rule. We'll have to give a rule number. Okay, so allow first SSH, okay, from everywhere, and click on save changes. Okay, now I'll try to log in. So rather than this, I can also use this option, connect EC2 instance. Okay, instance connect. Okay, so if you see, it's saying it's unable to connect. Okay, so if you see, what we did is we allowed it. Okay, let's go to outbound rule, click on outbound rule, and click on add rule, rule number 100, SSH, click on save changes. Okay, now again try to SSH.
I think outbound role not required here.
Okay, just a minute, I wanted to give something, but what happened? Right server. It's not working. So let's check why it's not working. So NACL we allowed port 22. Okay.
You see that subnet association there, NACL.
Yeah, that is done by default itself. Okay. For both it is done. This is the default one. Yeah, I got it why it's not working. So that is my NACL. So we also need to allow, earlier it was all right. Now only the port 22 will not work. We'll have to allow 1024 as well. So some ephemeral ports also needs to be allowed. I'll explain that. Okay, for the time being, we will have to create our own NACL as well. So what we'll do is just go to inbound rule, and rule number one will be all traffic. Okay, rule number 100, all traffic. And outbound rule, what I'll do is I'll just remove it. Click on save changes. So let's try to connect the public server. Connect. Okay, see, it's not working again. Let's try to edit the outbound rule as well. Rule number 100, all traffic. Click on save changes. Okay, I'll just try to refresh it. Okay, so if you see, the outbound is also required. Okay, that is the difference between security group and NACL. The security group are stateful. Okay, so when we create an inbound rule, it automatically allows the outbound as well, but in NACL we have to allow in both inbound and outbound, otherwise it will not work. Okay, so as of now I just allowed all the traffic. Okay, so this is important. So now why it was not working for port number 22, we'll see that uh, later. So what we'll do is first we'll create two more network access control list. First one we'll create for public. Okay, so we don't want to use the default one which is there, but see what happens. So if you remember, these two subnets, one ending with 727 is attached to my VPC. This is the default NACL. Okay, now we're creating a new one, that is public NACL NACL. Select my VPC. Okay, and just click create ACL. Okay, now the public NACL is created. Just click on it. Okay, here we need to do subnet association again, edit, and this is for private public subnet. Just click on public subnet and click association. Okay, so if you see, NACL is created. So if you see, the default one is gone. Can you see that the default one is gone and it becomes the private one? So this might sound confusing, but if you see, there were two subnets, right, in one war. So when we created the public NACL, okay, the default one is gone and it became the private one. It automatically becomes, it takes the private one as the default one. So
Maybe when you select that VPC, it will took, I guess.
no, that's the default behavior. Okay, so we'll do that again if you want, but see, let's concentrate, forget this, let's concentrate on public NACL. Now we don't have the private one, means the default one is not there with the two subnets. Okay, we created this public NACL. Okay, and also subnet association is done. Okay, now if you see, what are the rules here? Public NACL, let's go inside it and check that. So inbound, all the traffic by default is denied, and outbound is also denied. Okay, so let's, so here both are associated to default NACL. We'll create two custom NACL, public and private. We created the public one. Okay, the public NACL is created. it has the default deny rule for inbound and outbound, no subnet associated. So these are edit subnet association and add public subnet. Okay, so subnet association is done. Now we'll edit the inbound rule. Okay, and remember what we'll do is we'll try one by one, but remember this is also the range which we need to allow. So what we will do is where it is, we'll close this and first try to SSH again. This is public, try to connect EC2 instance connect, click on connect. So it will not work because we have attached a new public NACL to it, default one. It will not work because the rule is deny. So network ACL's public NACL, it is deny. Now let's try adding one by one. So first what we'll do is outbound. Outbound, what we will do, will not play much with it because we do not, for outgoing traffic it is in our control, right? So what we will do is we'll just add a rule. We can also add the specific one by one rules, but what we'll do is we'll by default allow all the traffic. Okay, otherwise our exercise will not work properly if we try to create one by one rule. Okay, it's very means very strict. So as the outbound rule is in our in our control, okay, so we'll allow all the traffic for outbound. Okay, so here the combination of inbound and outbound is necessary, and if we allow outbound all, okay, means it will take all the necessary combinations which are required. So outbound we are allowed 100 number rule. Okay, here again we'll create a inbound rule. Okay, first let's create an inbound rule to allow ping. Okay, so let's allow ping rule number 100 and ICMP ping. Okay, and click on save, allowed from everywhere, click on save. So but if the ping, we cannot test ping as of now, but I think we have a shell, right? So there is a shell in this as well, cloud shell. Okay, so just click on this cloud shell. This is also one of the method to, so it will give a temporary shell to interact. Okay, so we'll need one more tab for EC2 instance. And I'll try to ping this. So it's not working. Okay, now let's first again try to, we'll see this one later. Again try to use one more rule, that is allow SSH. Okay, just click on save. So ICMP we allowed, it didn't work. We are allowing port SSH port now. Okay, from Cloud Shell itself, try to SSH it. SSH as -l login as Ubuntu user. Okay, it's working now. You see, but we do not have the keys there. So I'll try from directly this connect and it will work. In shell I do not have key, so I have to directly try it, or I can try it from putty where I already have a key. So now I allowed port 22 and it's working. Now if I do ping google.com, spelling was wrong, it's working. And what we'll do is we'll first remove this rule. ICMP ping rule I'm removing out inbound. Click on save. Okay. Now I'm on EC2 instance. Try to ping google.com. See, so that ping was not for this IP address. The ping was any outbound traffic. If we try to ping, it will not work. Okay, so that ping I allowed it from inside the VM. So I can again edit it. And remember this, it has a precedence. If 100 will have the precedence first, okay, and then the next rule which I am adding, 200 will have the precedence next. I'll just make it ICMP first, okay, and here I'm allowing port number 22 and click on save changes. So I've allowed ICMP and SSH. So outbound also we need to allow ICMP and SSH, then only it will work properly. But when we allow everything by default, ICMP, SSH on everything is allowed. Okay, so that combination is working properly. Otherwise, if we add here port ICMP and SSH, here also we'll have to allow ICMP and SSH. But when we allow everything, that is not required. So if you see the SSH and ping is working fine. Again, let's check ping. Earlier it was not working. Now it's working. Okay. Now what we need to do is sudo apt-get update. Okay. So apt-get update is not working. Okay. So why it's not working? Okay. There is a good explanation for it. So we'll just go to our notes. Okay, so if you see I have written here allow ping SSH HTTP we haven't allowed, and range 1024 to 65535. Okay, so first learn about this. Security groups are stateful, so allowing inbound traffic to the necessity ports activates the connection. Okay, NACL are stateless, so you must allow both inbound and outbound traffic. This is the difference. Okay, stateful and stateless. Okay, and this is one of the interview questions. And whenever a client uh, connects to a server, okay, a random port from ephemeral port range 1024 becomes the client source port. So when I tried to SSH from my system to that public instance, okay, it connected on port number 22. But when actually TCP IP, it does some communication. Okay, it is also called as three-way handshake and all. In that case, port 22 is established. Okay, but when uh, it tries to communicate back that I have received port number 22 connection, it uses some other port. Means f- for other way communication, it will be using any port between this range 1024 to 65535, and that we need to allow, otherwise the packages will not be downloaded. Okay, so there are some ports, okay, so which are below 1024. Okay, so 0 to 1023, these are system ports like port 80, 44322, and there are some ephemeral ports as well. Okay, range from 1024 to 6553. They are dynamically allocated to the client's operating system when the client initiates connection to the server. Okay, so this also needs to be allowed, okay, along with the port 22 or 80 or whatever it may be. So that's why our this apt-get update is not working. Okay, so let's again try if it is working. It's not working. It starts in very fast. So what we will do is again we'll go to NACL inbound rule. Okay, for public, just click on add new rule, rule number 300. So we'll first allow port number 80. Okay, and again let's allow. So So let's check if allowing port 80 will allow downloading the packages or not. Will not allow 1024 range. Okay. Port number 80 is also opened at the NACL level. just click on apt get update. Still it's not working. I'll just cancel it. Now let's allow one more rule, that is rule number 400. 1024. Okay, so port range 1024 65535 and click on save. Now if I do apt get update, it will start working. And also check and apt get install Apache 2. Let's add sudo to it. It says permission denied. It says it's already installed. So for testing purpose, what we need to do is again edit the inbound rule. Okay, and I'll remove port 80. Okay, so port 80 is not allowed. Okay, and try to access it from the outside, this IP address. So if you see, let's wait for it. And this is NACL. Okay, so here we also have a security group. Where it is? Security group. I'll open it in a new tab. So if you see, it failed. So let's check security group. So which security group? We use the public security group, this one. In public security group, port 80 is allowed. Okay, still the connection is not working. Okay, so while troubleshooting, we'll have to first check whether the Apache is installed. If the Apache is not installed, the port 80 will not be open on the OS level. Okay, so for on OS level, when the port 80 gets open, when we install Apache there, okay, Apache works on port 80. So there it, so everything is fine. So we can check there first whether the service is running or not. Sudo system ctl status Apache 2. Okay, it is running. That means the port is open. We can also check with the netstat command, netstat-antu grep 80. So we need to install that package as well here. Sudo apt-get install net tools.
Space.
Yes. Okay. So netstat will also work. This troubleshooting is important. This we will face in the production environment as well. So now if you see, port 80 is in use. TCP 6 means both for TCP IP 4 and 6. The port is open. So there is no issue at the OS level. Okay, and sometimes there is also a firewall at the OS level, but by default the Ubuntu will not have a firewall. Okay, so this is okay. Now let's check the security group. If port 80 is allowed, yes, it is allowed, but is it for the correct VPC? That also we need to check. So, and then click on VPC. It should be my VPC. Okay, so it is my VPC. That means the correct security group we were there. Okay, so here everything is allowed. Now we can check the NACL. In NACL we see there is no port 80 allowed, so we'll have to allow now port 80. So I just do like this. So the first preference to port 80 HTTP from everywhere. Then add one more rule number 400. Remember, this will have precedence. Okay, first this, then this, and then this. So lower to upper, and we have to here allow custom TCP IP range 1024 to 65535. Okay, from everywhere, and click on save. and just refresh the page. We have allowed port 80 and now it's working fine. Okay, so remember the combination is important. The first combination is whenever we allow inbound role, the same outbound rule should be allowed. Okay, so here all these things should be allowed in outbound as well. Okay, but what we will do is we have a control over outbound traffic, right? It is our system. So by default, let's allow everything for outbound, and for inbound keep on adding the rules which we want. Okay, so if you want to open port 21, then we can open add a one more rule and open the port 21. Now this was all about the public one. So now we need to access the private as well. So let's first check the rule for private NACL. Okay. So actually most people rename it. Okay, so default one. So what we will do is let's first check what is the default behavior. We just created the public NACL. Default one was this. Okay, and it got renamed automatically, or association was done, not rename. It associated the private one. But what we will do is we'll just go to our session here, and what is the SSH IP address? Yeah, so let's try to SSH. Okay, 10.0.2.189. This is the private IP of the other server. Okay, so it worked. So why it worked? So if you see here, this is the rule associated with my private subnet. It got automatically associated here, but the name is not changed, and it is allow here. Okay, this is here, it is showing allow, that's why it worked. But this is not we want some more control over it. So let's give it a name, private ACL NACL, you can say. Okay, select a VPC, my VPC, and click on create network ACL NACL. Okay, so this is created now, public and private. This is the default one. It automatically associated my private subnet. So what we have to do is just go again on private NACL. Okay, and first let's do the subnet association. Edit for private, save changes. Okay, now the rules are deny, outbound and inbound deny, and for private subnet it is deny. Okay, so if you see that one is there, this is the default one, but we have a association here now. At a time it can be associated only with one. Okay, NACL can be associated only with one. So here we have a public and private. So this is not in use now, the one default one. This is not in use. We have a public and private. Okay, and what is the rule in a private? The inbound, all the traffic is denied, and outbound also all the traffic is denied. Now let's go to here. We are already there. We lost the connection now for the private. Okay, so we'll have to go here again. Just close this shell, go to EC2 instance. Okay, so we cannot directly access the private, okay, because it is not having a public IP address. So to access the private server, we need to first connect to the public one. So we'll connect from here, connect. Yeah, EC2 instance connect, click on connect. So the public will work because the NACL rules and security groups are all proper. Now let's click here and try to access 10.0.2.189. Okay, it is not working. By the time it should have worked, but it is not working. So let's wait for a few seconds. Okay, it's not working. I'm canceling it. Now let's go to NACL. We are on private one. Okay, so first outbound, as always, allow everything. If you want to play with it, we can also allow one by one rule, but as of now, what I'll do is I'll allow all the traffic rule number 11, all traffic from everywhere, click on save. Okay, so that was the outbound is allowed. Now we'll allow one by one. So first we need to allow, we need SSH. Okay, so actually 100, allow SSH to it. Okay, from everywhere, click on save. Now, okay, it worked. So we are on 2.189. Okay, and one more thing, what we will do is again, what we'll means it needs a combination of outbound and inbound both. So what I'll do is, for demo purpose, again I'll remove the rule. Which one? Outbound rule I'm removing. Let's see what happens. uh, Go to instance. Okay, again try to connect. Okay, see, it's not working because it needs both inbound and outbound. And we will never come to know what's the reason. Okay, so just follow the sequence, otherwise it will not work. So make sure we are on private subnet, yes, and allow outbound traffic. Add rule number 100. We have to allow all traffic. Save. Now I am on private. uh, from public I'm able to access the private. Now the ping google.com. Okay, so here there are two things. Okay, so let's see first what happens, because we haven't yet attached a NAT gateway to it. Okay, so I don't think allowing this SSH ping may work, but for packages that will not work. So we'll do that one by one, and as NAT gateway is costly, I'm attaching it at the end, or we should have done earlier when we created the internet gateway as well. So we are on a private NACL. What we need to allow is, let's allow ICMP. Add rule number 200. You can give any number. I'm following this 100, 200. ICMP, allow it from all. Click on save. Just click on ping google.com. So still it's not working. Okay, so maybe it's due to 1024 port, you may think. Okay, so let's try to allow that as well. Means we'll allow everything now. Let's allow port 80 as well, but we don't need port 80 here because this will be not Apache server, but still allow. Okay, add one more rule. It should be 300 here. And here rule number 400, allow the range 1024 to 65535. Click on save. Okay, now again try ping. I'm on. Okay, ping is not working. Sudo apt-get update. Okay, this will also not work. Okay, because it is not at all part of a public subnet. Okay, because it is in a private subnet, and to get an internet connection, that is for outgoing traffic, not for incoming. Okay, for outgoing traffic we need to allow, we need to create a NAT gateway and add a route. Okay, for it, a rule for it. So we'll go to our NAT gateway. Okay, and VPC dashboard, create a NAT gateway. I'll just say my NAT gateway, create a subnet. Okay, and remember it should be for a public subnet. okay, allowing in the public subnet, okay, and we'll just add a rule, and it also needs an elastic IP, okay. Elastic IP means an IP to connect to the outside world, okay. So the my gateway will connect to the outside world, we will not connect, okay. And just click on create. This is allocated automatically, okay. Just click on create NAT gateway, okay. So just creating the NAT gateway is not sufficient, we can confirm that we need to add a rule as well, okay. Still it's not working, okay. So just let it get created, okay. It will take some time, let's wait for it.
Oh, cannot attach to private.
No, it will not work. If you try to attach, it will not work.
Uh-huh.
This is also an interview question. Most of the people will say it has to be attached to the private one. It needs to be attached to the public subnet. Okay, so it's taking time, but most of our exercise is done. We just need to check if the ping is working and we are able to download the packages or not. All the rules we have added. So I suggest you also start this exercise now directly, this one. So this is a combination of both 6.1 and 6.2. Only difference is NACL we have added in 6.1. Okay. So you just try to complete. This is very important exercise. Production scenario, NACL will be always there. And what is the main difference? Security group is at the instance level, that is at EC2 instance level, but the NACL is at the subnet level. Subnet means private and public subnet level. We are trying to control the traffic, okay. So if you want to open the port, first it should be open on the OS level, then it should be opened on the security group level, then it should be opened on the NACL, okay. This is when we do, and when we try to troubleshoot, just first check NACL is allowed or not, then security group is allowed or not, and then the instance is allowed or not. And in production scenarios, there is one more layer, network layer is there, and network firewall is also there. One service is there in AWS, that is network firewall, that also we can attach. And above network firewall for websites, there is WAF as well. WAF means web application firewall, only for we can say for protocol HTTP, okay. But for the time being, this is sufficient. Security group and NACL. Let's see if it is allowed or not. Means it's ready or not. NAT gateway, okay, it's available. And let's check if the packages are getting downloaded. It will not download until and unless we add an entry in the route table, okay. So NAT gateway, go to route tables, okay. In private route table, okay. So if you see, the subnet association is already done. So now we just need to add a rule, add rule from everywhere to a NAT gateway, okay. Add a NAT gateway and click on save changes. Now it's adding a route, it is active, and just try to do apt-get update. If you see, it started immediately, okay. So the port 80 is not much required. Mostly in a private subnet we have the uh, this what we say
Right.
databases servers, okay. So apt-get install MySQL server, we just installing, and the connection string would be the public server, okay. The Apache server, if it wants to connect to the MySQL server, okay, then the connection string will be done on the private IP address itself, that is 10.range, okay. So that's it for this exercise. and that's what we are doing today. We are not doing anything else. Okay, so you just complete the exercise number 6.2. This is the only very big exercise, okay, in AWS. Others are quite simple. Means they are not lengthy ones. So just complete this 6.2. Okay, I'm available for some time.
Why they call NACL stateless?
So that's the default behavior. That's how they have designed it. Stateless means, if you see, means it doesn't remember it. That is
That mean
if it remembers it, it becomes easy for, you can say, hacking and all. Okay, so from security point of view, it should be stateless. It should not remember everything. That's what it says.
that means once you delete that security group, NACL also will delete.
Yes.